Okay, next question. A consumer might respond to a negative incentive because it could be a chance to 1. Purchase a very popular item, 2. Avoid additional charges, 3. Buy a good at a cheap price, or 4. Take advantage of a sale. And so this is the idea of incentives, right? And so there's this common misperception in economics where you can only have positive incentives like subsidies, right? But there can also be negative incentives. Incentive is anything that is designed to change the consumer's behavior, right? It's not a mandate that they change their behavior, but it's going to kind of motivate the consumer to change their behavior. And so a negative incentive could be anything like a tax, right? Or a fine or something like that that drives up the price of a good and that decreases a consumer's consumption. We see that with cigarette taxes or sin taxes on goods that we don't want people to buy as much for. So let's take a look at the previous answer choices. One says purchase a very popular item. So that seems more like something that unrelated to a negative incentive. A negative incentive is something we want you to purchase less of, not more of. 2 says avoid additional charges. And so this might be the case. It might be that if you buy a good, the negative incentive will charge you additional money. And so the negative incentive makes you change your behavior so you avoid that additional charge. And so that's a good way of looking at it. So it might be 2. 3 says buy a good at a cheap price, and so that seems more like a positive incentive rather than a negative incentive, so it's not going to be 3. And 4 says take advantage of a sale, and again, that's a positive incentive. It's decreasing the financial barrier to purchasing a good, and so you're making it more likely a person will purchase a good rather than less likely. So 2 seems to be the best answer here, avoid additional charges. Let's take a look at the previous tutor's answer. Previous tutor says avoid additional charges as well. 2 types of incentives that exist in the market are positive and negative incentives. Positive incentives are remunerative incentives. I don't really know what that actually is. That arise from economic actions and hence motivate economic agents to carry out the same, whereas negative incentives are non-monetary incentives that arise with the agent's desire to avoid a specified outcome. An incentive is any factor that induces a particular action from economic agents. Positive incentives for consumers will include consumer surplus, the perks of the good or service, the additional perks granted by the producers or service providers, etc., while negative incentives will include mechanisms that discourage a particular activity or action, such as a tax or a punishment. Negative incentives work as consumers tend to avoid additional costs. Good. Nothing to really change or modify there, and that is correct. And I think that's all we have for today, so hopefully that was helpful. We'll be back again on Thursday for some more questions to go over. But other than that, I hope everybody's staying healthy and safe these days. And yeah, I'll see